Whether you're looking at crafting high-impact sales copy, writing blog posts, social media posts, or just want to engage your readers more, if ever you wish you could be a better writer but don't know where to start, in this video I'm going to share 7 top tips on little word strategies used by multi-million-dollar copywriters that'll make virtually everything you write that bit more interesting. Hey, my name's Jeff Cowtan. If you don't know me, I'm an ex-optician turned multi-million-dollar copywriter for some of the most successful direct response marketers here in the UK. I ghostwrite for them, which basically means I write for them as if I am them. So while you won't necessarily heard of me, you may well have seen some of the copy I've written over the last 14 years or so, which has pulled in well over $24 million of sales, predominantly in the make money niche. I've seen it all, what works, what doesn't, what's real, what's a scam. And today I'm on a mission to share some of the things I've learned that will take your writing from meh to head nodding, aha, tell me more, wow. Okay, so you ready? Let's dive in. Top tip number 1, wherever possible, get rid of the word that. I don't think that you should use it. I don't think you should use it. It's important that you understand what I'm talking about. It's important you understand what I'm talking about. She said that she'd call me later. She said she'd call me later. You see what I mean? Now obviously it does depend on context, and in some cases you can't get rid of the word that, but all too often when people are writing they use it when they don't need to. It's strange because when they're speaking they don't, but as soon as they write it down they include the word that when it's completely unnecessary. The trouble is when you use words in your writing that you wouldn't generally use when you speak, it can come across as stilted, awkward and not flowing. You see, a more conversational tone is nearly always more engaging, so to keep your audience carrying on reading, always avoid using unnecessary filler words. Next time you write something, try removing the word that whenever you can, and if the sentence still makes sense, it'll come across as friendlier, chattier, more conversational. And in that context, that is what we want. Okay, top tip number 2. Embrace the apostrophe. Whenever you can, use contracted words, again, to give your writing a chattier, friendlier feel, which is more engaging for the reader. Use it'll instead of it will, that's instead of that is, there's rather than there is, I am rather than I am, don't rather than do not. And let's not forget the good old classic, you're instead of you are, although please don't get it confused with your as in while you are, which has got a completely different meaning. Again, when you use words in their non-contracted form, it can come across awkward and stilted. But as we effectively use apostrophes when we speak to help with the flow, do the same when you're writing. Top tip number 3, use connectors. Make your writing flow like a greasy chute. Okay, forgive me for the rather unpleasant analogy, but to keep readers engaged, sentences and paragraphs need to flow seamlessly from one to the other to the next, without anything jarring or stopping them in their tracks. So what's a connector? They're those happy little words that lead nicely into a new sentence or paragraph by connecting it with the previous one. The sort of thing you typically say in conversation when you're chatting. When you're writing, these little gems do the same thing. They're like little signposts that guide your reader to want more without them even realising they're being led. Here are a few examples. With that said, while we're on the subject, best of all, make no mistake, here's the thing, bottom line. The list goes on and on. In fact, there are hundreds, possibly even thousands, but once you get used to using connectors, your writing will improve drastically because they tease your readers into wanting more of what you've got to say, which is not only satisfying for them, but it's incredibly satisfying for you too. Try using connectors in your writing and you'll see what I'm talking about. Top tip number 4, use simple sentences, short, concise paragraphs with plenty of white space around them to give your words a more upbeat feel. Large blocks of text with no line breaks and few paragraphs are like a one-sided monologue from a self-interested party who's happily talking at you rather than having a conversation with you. And no one really likes that. Writing in the way you speak as if you're having a good old natter with a friend, a two-way street if you like, with plenty of pauses that enable each participant to join in will generally get better results, which means your reader will be champing at the bit to find out more. Top tip number 5, don't worry about grammar. Well, not in the formal sense anyway. Of course, grammar is important, but as I say in all my top tips, a conversational tone is more engaging. We don't generally speak following grammatically correct rules, so we can afford to be a little bit lax when it comes to proper English. If it sounds right, feels right, by all means start sentences with and, or, so, but, because, or any other words you've been told you shouldn't. Although don't mistake incorrect grammar for poor punctuation or spelling. Get these wrong, a comma in the wrong place, a spelling mistake, or an apostrophe that's used incorrectly. It'll jump out the page and smack your readers in the chops like an annoying little which will of course put them right off. Okay, top tip number 6, don't waffle. If you've got a lot to say, great, fill your boots, get it all down. But if you're simply trying to pad out your content to make it seem like there's more of it, well, don't. If you want to keep your readers engaged, write clear, concise copy, and where possible, keep the number of words to a minimum. Shorter, punchier paragraphs, as I said, ideally 2 to 3 sentences with white space all around them, are much easier on the eye than large blocks of text, which means they're much more likely to keep your reader, again, wanting more. Top tip number 7, sell it to your audience. In other words, give it a positive spin. One thing's for sure, if you're upbeat and enthusiastic about pretty much anything, it's always much easier to sell. And that's the same with writing. Be excited. Now, I'm not talking about those over-the-top, gushing, wannabe guru types where they're big, beaming grins and all that demeanour, which in my view generally puts people right off. What I'm talking about is being positive, engaging and upbeat. Even if the subject is negative, you can still write positively so people feel the feel-good factor and want more of what you've got to say. Bottom line, the more excited you can be over what you're writing about, the more it'll come across, and the more your articles, posts, sales copy, whatever, will keep your readers hooked. An example would be doing the washing. Hardly an exciting subject, but say you were selling a detergent. You could paint images in people's minds of folding clothes while smiling and enjoying the fresh smells and enjoying a wonderful opportunity to indulge in a bit of self-care. You could write about the soothing rhythm of folding the items or the chance to take pride in maintaining a clean, organised wardrobe, knowing that each freshly laundered piece of clothing is ready for a new adventure. Do you see? A positive spin can make even the dullest of subjects more engaging. Okay, finally, a bonus tip. Read it out loud. As I said earlier, to keep your readers engaged, you need your words to flow seamlessly from sentence to sentence, paragraph to paragraph, without any stumbling blocks that stop them in their tracks and make them think, that doesn't sound right, and then click away. The best way to make sure your writing flows properly is to read it out loud just before you publish. You'll be surprised that even if it sounds all right when you read it in your head, as soon as you read it out loud, anything that jars really stands out so you can deal with it and smooth it out before you unleash your wonderful words onto your adoring audience. Okay, so there we are, 7 top tips plus a bonus that will make your writing easier to read, more engaging, and ultimately get people wanting more of your content. Whether you're putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard, I hope this video gives you some fresh ideas on how to effectively sell your writing. Think about it like this. To keep your readers engaged, it's all about them. What's in it for them, not you. Get this right and you'll get a whole lot out of it anyway. By the way, if you're interested in more tips on simple writing strategies that sell, you can download my free Coffee Break Credibility Crash Course, a quick read where you'll learn the fundamentals of writing highly effective sales copy in less time than it takes to finish your cappuccino. I'll put the link in the description. Okay, well that's just about time for me to wrap it up. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button because apparently it helps with the YouTube algorithm. And of course, share it with anyone else who could use a little help in getting their written words appreciated that bit more. So on that note, until the next one, ta-da.